The flickering glow of vintage cathode ray tubes illuminated living rooms across the world during the mid-1960s, transporting families into a whimsical universe of absurd espionage, shoe phones, and iconic catchphrases. At the absolute center of this cultural phenomenon stood Get Smart, a brilliant television satire that poked fun at the rigid, high-stakes spy thrillers of the Cold War era. While television audiences tuned in week after week to watch the bumbling, yet lovable Maxwell Smart bumble his way through catastrophic missions, they were equally captivated by his remarkably competent counterpart. Agent 99, portrayed with effortless grace, cool intellect, and razor-sharp timing by Barbara Feldon, redefined what a female character could accomplish on network television. She was consistently the smartest person in the room, rescuing her hapless partner from self-inflicted disasters while maintaining absolute poise amidst total chaos. Yet, the gleaming exterior of television stardom often hides complex personal realities, and the woman behind the iconic spy suit was quietly navigating an entirely different kind of private battlefield. Long before she captured global hearts, Barbara was a deeply thoughtful individual trying to make sense of a rapidly shifting entertainment landscape that frequently misunderstood powerful women. Her journey from a vibrant young creative in New York City to a reluctant global television icon is a narrative rich with unexpected turns, profound personal growth, and hidden vulnerabilities. As she reflects on her extraordinary life at 91, the layers surrounding her legendary career reveal a woman far more complex, resilient, and fascinating than the fictional spy she brought to life. Understanding the true scope of her legacy requires looking far beyond the laugh tracks and iconic gadgets to explore the genuine human story of perseverance, artistic integrity, and self-discovery. Stepping into the bustling, high-energy environment of 1960s New York City, a young Barbara Feldon was already carving out a fulfilling life that had nothing to do with Hollywood or multi-year television commitments. She felt entirely at home amidst the artistic theaters, commercial sets, and vibrant cultural pulses of the East Coast, harboring zero ambition to anchor a massive network sitcom. When the pioneering television project that would eventually become Get Smart first crossed her path, she felt an instinctive wave of hesitation rather than excitement. The entire premise sounded bizarre on paper, leaning heavily into an experimental brand of absurdity that felt risky during an era dominated by straight-faced espionage dramas like The Man from UNCLE network television executives were frantically chasing the massive cultural wave ignited by James Bond. But this new script proposed laughing at the very tropes audiences were currently obsessing over. Barbara vividly recalled reading early script pages and openly questioning whether she could bring herself to utter such silly dialogue, completely unaware that this exact brand of surreal humor would soon cement her legacy worldwide. Producers tested multiple actresses in search of their leading lady, but they quickly realized that nobody else possessed her unique combination of high-fashion glamour and deadpan comedic delivery. Unwilling to tie herself down to a lengthy 5-year Hollywood contract, Barbara initially resisted their persistent offers, prompting the network to compromise by shortening the commitment to 2 years. Reluctantly agreeing to that revised term, she unknowingly signed a document that would alter the trajectory of her professional and personal existence forever. What began as a cautious career move gradually blossomed into one of the most celebrated casting achievements in television history, proving that instincts are sometimes wrong about where our greatest adventures will unfold. The reality of stepping onto a major television set for the first time is rarely the glamorous fairy tale fans imagine, and Barbara's initial encounter with her co-star Don Adams was wonderfully awkward. On their very first morning of filming, neither actor experienced an instant emotional connection or a cinematic spark. Instead, their primary mutual preoccupation was something entirely practical and somewhat comical: height differences. Standing nearly 5 feet and 9 inches tall in her stocking feet, Barbara towered noticeably over Adams, creating an ongoing logistical puzzle for the production crew throughout the entire run of the series. Behind-the-scenes adjustments became a daily routine whenever wide shots or dramatic walking sequences were scheduled across varying terrains. If the script called for a beach scene, production crew members literally dug a small trench in the sand for Barbara to stand in so their eye lines matched appropriately. When filming took place on elevated hills or uneven park terrain, Barbara deliberately positioned herself further down the slope to create the illusion of a more traditional height disparity. During tight close-up shots, she frequently worked completely barefoot just to ensure the visual framing remained balanced for home television screens. Yet, despite these amusing physical adjustments, the moment the director yelled action, an effortless magical chemistry took over the space. Barbara later remarked that acting alongside Adams felt entirely organic because his comedic momentum drove every single sequence forward like a runaway rocket ship, requiring only that she climb aboard and enjoy the ride. Their professional synergy on screen was undeniable, creating an illusion of seamless partnership that millions of viewers grew to adore, even if their personal interactions remained strictly professional behind closed doors. Achieving sudden global stardom placed Barbara inside a fascinating psychological paradox that many young performers struggle to navigate during the peak of their professional lives. While Agent 99 projected absolute confidence, emotional invulnerability, and intellectual mastery every single week, the actress portraying her was quietly battling persistent feelings of insecurity and intense professional pressure. Just 2 weeks into the initial production schedule, she experienced a terrifying moment that could have abruptly ended her television career before it truly began. A studio executive quietly pulled her aside to deliver devastating news. The primary corporate sponsor of the show wanted her replaced immediately. The objection had nothing to do with her acting performance, her on-screen chemistry, or her dedication to the role. Rather, it stemmed from a television commercial she had filmed months earlier for Revlon Roll-On deodorant. The sponsor CEO harbored deep anxieties that television viewers would mentally associate her face with a competing personal care product, potentially damaging retail sales of their own proprietary soap brands. Pleading desperately to keep the job she had already grown to cherish, Barbara watched helplessly as executives remained stubbornly indifferent to her career aspirations, even though Revlon representatives promised to permanently shelf the offending commercial. For weeks, she arrived on set each morning under a dark cloud of anxiety, genuinely believing that network heads might hand her a pink slip at any given moment, while the show's ratings skyrocketed. The situation eventually took an ironic twist when the very same executive who demanded her termination invited her to his private office for a celebratory publicity photograph. Once Get Smart reached the #1 spot in national ratings. Experiencing firsthand how fickle and unpredictable Hollywood leadership could be left a lasting impression on her, teaching her early on about the fragile nature of corporate entertainment structures. Beyond the witty banter and iconic catchphrases, Agent 99 quietly broke significant cultural ground during a decade when female television characters were largely relegated to passive supporting roles. While traditional sitcoms of the 1960s frequently featured women whose primary narrative purpose was to admire, worry about, or serve male protagonists, Agent 99 consistently inverted those tired television tropes. She regularly outsmarted criminal masterminds, rescued Maxwell Smart from seemingly inescapable death traps, and offered level-headed tactical solutions while everyone else panicked around her. Barbara later confessed that the character was significantly more progressive and intellectually liberated than she herself felt during the early seasons of production. Over the years, playing such a strong, capable woman fundamentally reshaped Barbara's own internal standards, helping her cultivate the very confidence she initially projected on camera. Even minor details surrounding the beloved spy captured the public imagination for decades, particularly the persistent mystery regarding whether the character possessed a real given name. For many years, dedicated fans traded fan theories and argued over subtle script hints, with some convinced her name was Susan Hilton based on a fleeting line of dialogue. Barbara eventually put the ongoing debate to rest after consulting with series co-creator Buck Henry, who confirmed that the character intentionally had no name other than her numeric designation. Writers initially toyed with the idea of naming her Agent 100 as a clever numerical superiority over Maxwell Smart's Agent 86, but ultimately concluded that 100 sounded far too mechanical and lacked feminine grace. Hearing Barbara fondly joke decades later about how ridiculous, look out, 100 would have sounded highlights the sharp wit that kept the production grounded in genuine humor. The surreal nature of television production occasionally spills over into real-world history, and Get Smart famously crossed that boundary when its fictional gadgets inadvertently inspired real intelligence agencies. During an era when portable electronic communication devices were completely unheard of outside science fiction, Maxwell Smart's iconic shoe phone elicited hearty laughs from millions of trusting viewers. Decades after the series concluded its original network run, Barbara visited Central Intelligence Agency headquarters in Langley, Virginia, where she experienced a genuinely surreal career full-circle moment. Government intelligence operatives proudly showed her historical exhibits, demonstrating that real-world spies and technical designers had actively studied props from the show while developing covert communication tools. Standing mere feet away from genuine historical espionage artifacts that had shaped global history, she marveled at the bizarre reality that fictional television comedy had crossed paths with genuine national security operations. This unexpected crossover underscored the brilliant foresight embedded within the writing staff, who managed to satirize espionage so effectively that actual intelligence professionals found practical utility in their imaginative concepts. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of television history and museum exhibits, the interpersonal dynamics among the cast remained remarkably distant during the height of production. Audiences who spent years convinced that Barbara and Don shared a deeply romantic or warmly affectionate personal bond were often surprised to learn the truth about their off-screen relationship. During the 5 intensive years of shooting the primary television run, the two lead actors operated primarily as dedicated professional colleagues who rarely socialized or engaged in deep personal conversations once the director yelled cut. The immense weight of carrying a network hit rested heavily on Adams's shoulders, coloring his daily interactions and keeping his personal life closely guarded behind a fast-talking comedic persona. Reflecting upon the whirlwind of 1960s celebrity culture, Barbara often spoke candidly about the disorienting psychological toll that sudden, massive fame exacted on her personal well-being. Receiving prestigious Emmy Award nominations and finding her face splashed across the covers of national magazines should have felt like an unmitigated triumph, but she frequently experienced it as an overwhelming and surreal blur. During award ceremonies, she struggled deeply with feelings of inadequacy, quietly wrestling with embarrassment as other members of the ensemble cast walked away with trophies while her own contributions went unrecognized by voting bodies. Looking back with mature perspective, she realized she had likely been submitted in the inappropriate category, viewing herself fundamentally as an ensemble cooperating partner rather than a primary comedic lead. This persistent internal pressure fed directly into a broader lifelong struggle with perfectionism, as she spent countless precious years chasing an impossible standard of professional and personal validation. At 91, sharing hard-earned wisdom with younger generations, she often emphasized that youth is naturally unequipped to absorb profound life lessons until personal experience forces emotional maturation. If she could travel back in time to comfort her younger self during those high-pressure television years, her message would be wonderfully simple. Lighten up, enjoy the fleeting moments, and abandon the exhausting quest for universal approval. This gentle self-awareness extended beautifully into her personal reflections on motherhood, addressing a topic that frequently invited intrusive public questioning. Although her television character ultimately embraced motherhood by raising twins during the later seasons of the series, Barbara never had children of her own in her personal life. Responding to inquiries about that choice with characteristic grace and absolute peace, she explained that life simply unfolds along different trajectories for every individual, leaving plenty of room for alternative forms of deep fulfillment. While television audiences idolized her as the calm and collected Agent 99, Barbara's private life away from Hollywood cameras was occasionally marked by intense emotional turbulence and challenging romantic lessons. Long before she found stability and self-acceptance, she experienced a profoundly unsettling marriage to a glamorous French man whose sophisticated exterior masked a deeply manipulative personality. Swept away by romantic fantasies and the alluring illusion of European mystery during her youth, she entered the marriage believing she had found her ultimate fairy tale romance. Reality set in with brutal swiftness after the wedding, revealing a man she scarcely knew and plunging her into a period of psychological distress so severe that she genuinely feared she was being targeted by the KGB. This harrowing chapter taught her painful, lifelong lessons regarding emotional manipulation, sociopathic behavior, and the immense dangers of escaping into idealized fantasies instead of confronting reality. Sharing these vulnerable truths in her later memoir, Getting Smarter, allowed her to strip away the glossy facade of celebrity culture and present an honest account of human resilience. Alongside personal relationship struggles, she also navigated an entertainment industry historically unkind to women, quietly enduring professional mistreatment by powerful producers during an era when speaking out carried career-ending consequences. Rather than transforming her memoirs into sensationalized scandal exposés, she carefully highlighted how young actresses in New York and Hollywood routinely faced immense structural pressure while maintaining composure under public spotlights. Her intellectual curiosity remained a steadfast anchor through these turbulent times, famously highlighted by her triumphant appearance on the high-stakes cultural game show The $64,000 Question. Choosing Shakespeare as her specialized category, she spent months memorizing dense literary trivia before winning the grand prize, proving that her sharp mind matched her striking physical beauty long before television producers ever handed her a script. As the decades rolled forward and Barbara transitioned gracefully into her senior years, her relationship with her most famous television role evolved from a source of professional fatigue into a cherished legacy. Instead of growing resentful or weary of fans greeting her on the street as Agent 99, she embraced the enduring affection of multi-generational audiences discovering Get Smart through streaming platforms and late-night syndication reruns. Remarkably, the emotional distance that once characterized her working relationship with Don Adams completely dissolved decades later, when the two actors reunited for a television project late in life. Without the suffocating pressure of weekly network television production schedules hanging over their heads, a genuine and enduring friendship finally blossomed, lasting right up until Adams passed away. This late-in-life reconciliation brought a touching sense of closure to their shared history, proving that meaningful connections sometimes require decades of personal growth to fully materialize. Barbara's evolution from an insecure young actress seeking external validation into a deeply grounded, self-assured nonagenarian stands as an inspiring testament to the power of inner reflection. She successfully bridged the gap between the fictional poise of Agent 99 and her own authentic lived experience, realizing that true confidence cannot be awarded by television ratings or corporate sponsors. Today, her legacy extends far beyond campy spy humor and nostalgic catchphrases, residing instead in the enduring grace with which she navigated the complexities of fame and womanhood. For millions of devoted fans worldwide, she remains an eternal symbol of intelligence, elegance, and wit, proving that the most compelling story of all is a life examined with honesty and courage. The legacy of classic television comedies is often measured by the laughter they continue to elicit across generations, yet the human stories behind the camera frequently harbor unexpected depth. Get Smart succeeded because it brilliantly mocked the paranoid espionage tropes of the Cold War, but it resonated deeply with viewers because of the remarkable chemistry shared by its principal cast members. While Maxwell Smart provided the physical slapstick and verbal stumbles that define the show's comedic rhythm, Agent 99 anchored the chaotic narrative with unwavering intelligence and sophisticated charm. Barbara Feldon brought a unique gravity to a role that could easily have been reduced to a superficial decorative accessory, transforming the character into a quiet feminist icon of the 1960s. Examining her career path reveals a woman who constantly challenged expectations, whether by dominating literary trivia on high-stakes television game shows or standing firm against corporate executives attempting to derail her career. Her journey through the unpredictable waters of the entertainment industry was shaped by profound resilience, intellectual curiosity, and an eventual willingness to confront her own internal insecurities. While fans spent decades imagining a glamorous off-screen romance between the show's leading stars, the reality was a quiet professional partnership that eventually matured into a genuine, lasting friendship later in life. Barbara's ability to separate her personal identity from the fictional persona of Agent 99 allowed her to age with grace, humor, and a deep sense of internal peace that many former child stars and television icons never managed to achieve. Her subsequent literary contributions and candid interview reflections offered audiences a rare, unvarnished look at the realities of 1960s Hollywood stardom. Navigating the labyrinth of network television during its golden era required a delicate balance of artistic integrity, personal boundaries, and thick skin in the face of institutional pressure. Barbara's initial reluctance to sign a long-term television contract proved remarkably prescient, as she intuitively understood the creative limitations and personal sacrifices demanded by major Hollywood series commitments. Yet, once she made the momentous decision to accept the role, she committed herself fully to the craft, creating a television character whose cultural impact reverberates more than half a century later. The behind-the-scenes adjustments required to bridge her physical height difference with Dawn Adams highlight the unglamorous, highly practical problem-solving that constantly occurs beneath the polished veneer of weekly sitcom production. Furthermore, the harrowing ordeal involving the corporate sponsor's misguided threat of termination serves as a stark reminder of the arbitrary obstacles female performers routinely faced during an era dominated by conservative executive boards. Despite these early anxieties, Barbara's dedication never wavered, and she continued to elevate the material by injecting Agent 99 with genuine warmth, quick wit, and fierce independence. Writers and directors quickly realized they had struck gold with her casting, as her deadpan delivery provided the perfect comedic foil for Adams's manic, propulsive energy. This dynamic created an unforgettable viewing experience that transformed a risky, absurd premise into one of the most successful and enduring comedy franchises in television history. Long after the cameras stopped rolling and the final studio audience departed, the cultural footprint of their shared television universe remained firmly embedded in the global entertainment consciousness. The personal evolution of Barbara Feldon offers a masterclass in emotional maturity, demonstrating how a person can successfully navigate the disorienting disarray of sudden, massive public fame. The anxiety she experienced during her initial Emmy nominations underscores the hidden emotional toll of public recognition, proving that external accolades do not automatically heal internal feelings of self-doubt. By acknowledging her struggles with perfectionism and the exhausting pursuit of Hollywood approval, she humanized an industry that frequently encourages performers to maintain an untouchable facade of flawlessness. Her reflections on aging reveal a refreshing lack of bitterness, standing in stark contrast to the common narrative of performers who resent the shifting tides of public relevance and generational taste. Instead of fighting the natural progression of time, she leaned into personal growth, embracing literature, writing, and quiet self-reflection as tools for building a meaningful existence outside the spotlight. Her willingness to discuss the painful romantic missteps of her youth, including her troubling marriage to a manipulative European figure, demonstrates profound courage and a commitment to absolute emotional honesty. By sharing these difficult memories in her memoir, she provided readers with a valuable roadmap for recognizing emotional manipulation and breaking free from destructive fantasy bonds. Her intellectual roots, brilliantly showcased by her legendary Shakespeare victory on national television, reminded the public that her glamorous showgirl exterior concealed a formidable intellect capable of mastering complex academic subjects under intense pressure. The multifaceted nature of Agent 99's cultural impact continues to inspire contemporary audiences who encounter the series through modern streaming platforms and digital archives. Unlike many female television characters of her era who faded into obscurity as dated cultural artifacts, Agent 99 remains surprisingly relevant due to her competence, agency, and refusal to be marginalized by her male colleagues. Barbara's retrospective realization that the character was significantly more liberated than she felt during production highlights the fascinating ways art can elevate and eventually transform its creator. The mystery surrounding the character's unnamed status ultimately added an aura of intriguing timelessness to her persona, cementing her place in television lore alongside other legendary fictional creations. Furthermore, the unexpected intersection between Get Smart's fictional gadgetry and real-world intelligence agency innovation at CIA headquarters in Langley demonstrates the surprising cultural reach of smart, satirical writing. It proves that imaginative comedy, when executed with high creative standards, can accidentally inspire real-world technological breakthroughs that influence global history. The late-stage reconciliation and friendship between Barbara and Don Adams provides a heartwarming conclusion to their shared professional journey, illustrating that time possesses a unique ability to heal past professional distances. Their eventual bond proved that mutual respect, once planted, can quietly flourish even after the chaotic pressures of weekly network television production have long since faded into memory. As generations of television fans continue to rewatch the classic misadventures of Control versus Chaos, the appreciation for Barbara Feldon's artistic contributions only deepens with time. Her transition from a reluctant New York creative into a globally recognized television icon is a story defined by quiet resilience, sharp intellect, and steadfast personal integrity. By refusing to let the iconic persona of Agent 99 entirely eclipse her authentic self, she managed to build a rich, multifaceted life characterized by continuous personal learning and creative exploration. Her willingness to share her vulnerabilities, struggles, and hard-earned wisdom with the public has endeared her to modern audiences who value authenticity over manufactured Hollywood perfection. Whether discussing the logistics of hiding height differences on a sandy beach, recounting the ironies of corporate sponsor politics, or reflecting on the peace of living a child-free life, her perspective remains remarkably grounded. The legacy she leaves behind extends far beyond the campy spy humor and classic catchphrases of a beloved 1960s sitcom, anchoring itself instead in a powerful narrative of female self-discovery. For anyone seeking to understand the true human cost and ultimate rewards of navigating television stardom, her life story offers both a fascinating historical window and an enduring source of inspiration. Ultimately, Barbara Feldon proved that true elegance is not merely a matter of wardrobe or posture, but the result of a courageous mind navigating life's complex missions with grace, intelligence, and unwavering grace.